Welcome, everybody. We are delighted to have you join us for this discussion and presentation about our Danish Sisterhood Digital Archive project at the Museum of Danish America. I am the executive director of the museum. My name is Tova Brandt, and I plan to not say very much tonight. I want to turn this program over to my colleagues, Cheyenne Jansdatter and Addison Marsengill, and they're the ones who are directly involved in this project. They have a presentation prepared to share with you all, and there will be opportunities for questions after their remarks are finished. And so we hope to answer everything that might be on your minds. This presentation will also be recorded and made available on the museum's YouTube channel. So please share this link and the information with your friends and lodge members and other people who might be interested in this. And with that, I would like to turn this over to Cheyenne to kick us off.
Thank you, Tova. I will also ask a few of you I see that are not currently muted, if you could do that for us. There will be time, as Tova said, at the end for everybody to ask questions, but just in case an alarm goes off in the background, we just want to keep that off the recording. So I will go ahead and share my screen and get us started. So, as Tova mentioned, my name is Cheyenne Jansdatter. I am the Development Associate and Archivist at the Museum of Danish America. I have been here since 2017 in various changing roles, but from 2019 to 2021, I was specifically working with the Danish Sisterhood of America collection, cataloging, organizing, and rehousing everything that we received back in 2016. Today, we're here mostly to talk to you about what we might call a second phase of the project, where we are digitizing the ledgers from that collection, as well as the Danish Sisterhood news. I'll let Addison Marsengill, our Digital Archives Assistant, speak about that. But first, I'll just give you a little short background about how the collection came here and what has happened up until that point. So the collection arrived in October 2016. Actually, I should just make sure everybody can see my screen, right? Nod if you can. Great. It's terrible to start talking and nobody can see what's going on. So the collection arrived in October 2016 in conjunction with the Museum of Danish America's annual board meeting that always happens on site. Here you see the national board members at the time of the donation, as well as John Mark, our former director, and some of the other staff members at the museum. Tova's not in that picture. She must have been elsewhere at the moment. But just a refresher for any of you who haven't seen this collection before, when it arrived to us, it was in various types of boxes as well as various states. We had about 78 boxes of material in total, and all of this came from various lodges, mostly those that had closed, and the National Sisterhood. So, to my understanding, everything was sent to the National Sisterhood and then compiled, and then when it was eventually donated, it came here. The first priority with this collection was to sort it, an initial sort and we used the Elkhorn Town Hall so I could spread out. 78 boxes of material is a lot of stuff. So our collections intern at the time, Hannah Barnhard, helped with this process, as well as some volunteers who came on the first day of processing. So I decided early on that it made the most sense to organize things by lodge, by national, and by district. So we did that. There are a lot of ledgers. Obviously, we have about 350 ledgers, and those have been organized by lodge. Here I show what the processing process looks like. And most of that is then organizing things at a deeper level, putting them into folders, which have been categorized by type of material. So, for example, correspondence or um, uh, programs from national conventions. I'm just using those as broad examples because there's a lot of that material. These photos show you sort of on the left what things looked like when they came to us and the process we went through to folder them into acid-free folders and acid-free boxes here on the right. The next step was cataloging things into our digital cataloging system. Now, just an explanation around that. Everything has been digitally cataloged, which means that there is a record that can be accessed online through our database, Past Perfect. I have, in the next slide, I'll go into that a little bit more, but each of these records has approximately 3 to 6 scans showing what the content is in each folder or box. But it is not, these records are not full scans of the material, which is what Addison has been working on. It's a much longer process to digitize in full a ledger or a folder. So I just want to make that distinction for everybody. So this is what the online view our collection through Past Perfect, our digital cataloging system. This is what it looks like. You can search by, well, in this screenshot, I searched by donation number, but you can search by, say, Danish Sisterhood of America or someone's name or various things you can search through this collection, a lodge name, and it will bring up results for you. If we then were to click on one of the links, everything in red here is a link. So if I were to click on one of the links, this is a binder that has lodge history of Christine Lodge number 1. And there, as you can see on the left-hand side of this screen, there are images that you could click on to make larger and view what the content in that record is. And again, like I said, all of the red links you can click on and it would bring you to anything else in the Past Perfect system that has also been tagged with this search term. Now, I just went into that very briefly, but on our YouTube, we have lots of other videos and content, but there is also a video of me giving a tutorial of how to use view our collections. It's about 11 minutes long, but it gives you some more information and it's a little more detailed than what I just went through. So as we were saying, one part of the collection that I determined would be a really good part of the collection to digitize were the ledgers. As you can see in this picture, some of the ledgers are really old and starting to fall apart in some cases. So minimizing the use of these ledgers is really important, the actual handheld use of these ledgers. So, but we still want to be able to access that content. So the way that we do that is creating a scanned picture, a digital copy of this, and putting this online so that everybody can see it. This is just a picture to show you the magnitude of what we're looking at with the ledgers that Addison is working with right now. And we have all of them in these book boxes that you see on the right photo. That makes it easier to take sections off of the shelf without things falling down or falling over, as you might have happen on your own personal bookshelf at home when you take out books. So here are some pictures of the kind of material we're looking at. This is a ledger from 1901 from Denver, Colorado, Ellen Lodge. And as you can see, although this is actually pretty clear, some ledgers are beginning to fade. And that's another thing that we want to preserve is the writing in these ledgers. So this one's a secretary ledger, I believe, recording meeting minutes. And then this one is also Lodge 21, Ellen Lodge, and it has a list of their members. So we have mostly secretary, member, and treasury ledgers. And I'm guessing probably most of you have seen some iteration of these ledgers at some point in time, but this project will make them fully digital and available online. We've also been working on scanning, or Addison has been working on scanning the Danish Sisterhood news, and we have most of them available online now. I'll let Addison talk a little bit more about the process of scanning next, but after he's done, then I'll show you briefly online how you can access these. I also have a chart of missing issues. The missing issues are in gray. We have almost everything now. We've had some more come in, but we're still missing, I think at last count, about maybe 20 or so. But that's pretty great. And I'm still searching down to see if there are some in the collection hiding away from me. So I will share this with Marcia, who can then share it out what we still need. And I also, nope, I can't remember what else I was going to say. Sorry. But I'll turn it over to Addison right now to talk about the process of scanning these.
All right. Thanks, Cheyenne. Share my screen now. So I'm Addison Marsengill. I'm the new digital archive, or I should just say archive assistant here at the Museum of Danish America. And I hail from Riverside, Iowa, and went to school at both University of Iowa for my undergrad in archaeology, and Western Illinois for museum studies just about a year ago. So the Museum of Danish America invited me to come out and help with their digitization project of the Danish Sisterhood of America. So brief introduction. We're just going to go overview. I'm just going to overview the Danish Sisterhood of America digitization project, some importance of preserving historical documents through digitization, and lastly, the main purpose this project is going on and why digitization is a purposeful, a meaningful project to have in most museums. So our main goal is to preserve old documents by turning them into digital files, making them easier to find, share, and safeguard. This helps us plan how to keep them safe for the future, and it gets more people interested in our cultural past. By digitizing things, we protect valuable pieces of our history, help people learn, and feel more connected to our culture and heritage. We're working on digitization, the Danish Sisterhood of America's old newsletters, books, and records. This means we're collecting, sorting out, and storing these collections so that they are ready to be scanned. We will then turn these digital files, turn them into digital files and make sure they look good before setting up online space where these files can be stored and easily accessed to the public. This also helps us at the Museum of Danish America keep them safe for a long period of time and reduce the stress on the physical collection that we have. So this project started when I first came in on February 5th, and we expected it to take about 6 months to finish. After we receive the collection, we start preparing them by organizing and arranging them. Currently, they're arranged by alphabetical by state, and then numerical by a lodge number. During this time, we ensure that they're in good condition for scanning. That means making any necessary repairs or cleaning, which makes the process go a bit quicker. And once they're ready, I use our scanner, which is right here on the right. It's called the Book2Net Public 3, to take pictures of each page. And depending on the type of document, I might need to adjust some settings to get the best scans. In fact, we've had a couple of ledgers that couldn't even fit onto that couldn't fit completely onto the tray that we have there on the left. So it was a matter of maneuvering it around to get each page in the shot. So after that, I'm careful to make sure that each page is captured accurately and double check to ensure the digital versions look just like the originals. These scans are then transferred onto the computer. During this time of transfer, I include extra information called metadata, which is like adding titles, dates, locations, lodge numbers, and even descriptions, which makes the process easier for people who code to our digital library to find what they're looking for when searching through our archives. It's kind of like putting labels on things just to make sure that they don't get lost and there's a proper description to them. After everything's scanned and labeled, we save the digital copies onto a hard drive to keep them safe for future uses. Then we send them to our web specialist, Sam, who uses optical character recognition, or OCR, technology to make the computer read and transcribe the text on our images into a searchable format that you can then go through and search through. He then uploads them to our digital library, which acts as a search database, sort of like any sort of search engine like Google or Bing, for the collection. We want to make sure that everyone can access these documents no matter where they are or who they are. So these are a couple of interesting finds that I found while searching. Here to the left is our very first issue. As you can see, it's from February 15th, 1947, and it's #1. It's drastically different from the right image, which is the very last image that we had currently in our collection. And you can see just the drastic changes from, you know, a newspaper like format of the left to the more magazine focus to the right, and how it's really interesting to see if you go through and look at all of them. It's very interesting to see how these small changes happen over time. It's very an interesting find. Another thing that I found is things like pressed flowers. I personally, when I go hiking, I tend to find wildflowers and I press flowers myself, so I found that quite amusing. As well as small doodles of horses and happy faces and Danish flags just about everywhere. We also found things like craft projects and small events where some of the Danish Sisterhood would get together and do craft projects for churches and other organizations, as well as over here to the top right, Danish lessons and Danish customs, which a lot of times were used to help Sisterhood members sort of get acclimated to when they inevitably go over to Denmark. for pilgrimage. And then here on the bottom right, I had a chuckle when I saw all these cards of passwords to get into the uh, 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 membership meetings. So I found that quite amusing. And then last but not least, lots of recipes. Probably around from the 40s onwards, we start, no, probably around the 60s onwards, a lot more recipes start showing up, and sometimes they're intriguing, like uh, some fish stews and soups, and a lot of various Danish pastries and baked goods. And as being a baker myself, I plan on utilizing some of these recipes. And then last but not least, tons and tons of frikadeller recipes. I found that quite amusing that there were probably around 30 or 40 different Danish meatball recipes that I've come across. So just a little progress report as of today. All 806 Danish Sisterhood newspapers that we've received have been digitalized and have been transcribed with OCR, or optical character recognition. And they are currently uploaded onto the Danish American Digital Library, which one of us will probably put a link in the chat after we're done, just so that you have a quick link to the website. And then out of approximately 350 ledgers, we have about 152 that have already been currently digitized. Based on our progress, we anticipate completing the project on schedule sometime in the next few months. The benefits of digitization. Digitizing our records at the of the Danish Sisterhood of America offer some amazing benefits. It keeps old records safe and easy to find, and this is great because it preserves our group's history for future generations to enjoy. It's also much easier for people to search through the archives and find what they need fast without risking damage to our documents and our collection. Converting these documents into digital files also means anyone, whether they are a member now, in the past, or even the future, can easily access them. This helps people connect with our history and cultural heritage. Although it's not just members and visitors who may benefit, scholars studying the Danish American culture can also utilize this information for their research. Lastly, this works also, this work also supports that we are what we are doing here at the Museum of Danish America. We are all about exploring the how Denmark has influenced the U.S., both past and today, and how immigrants have shaped American history and life. So by digitizing our records, we're opening up to vast amounts of information for everyone to explore and learn. In conclusion, the digitization project has been great for preserving and making it easier to access historical records of the Danish Sisterhood of America. We still have some work to do, like finishing up the digitizing of the ledgers and making sure the physical and digital copies stay safe in the long run. But there are plenty of opportunities to use these digital materials for education, events, research, promotion, especially involving the community. And again, the Museum of Danish America is committed to sharing the rich heritage of the Danish American experience with its visitors, members, researchers, and the broader community. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Addison. That was a great description of the project we're working on now. I am, for the end of this presentation, going to briefly show you all how to access this material. As Addison stated, we have the Danish Sisterhood news, the majority of it, available online now, which I think is really exciting. And I will show you how to access it. I also made that's what I was trying to come up with earlier. I made a handout that I finished just before this presentation that can be shared with lodges that actually has the step-by-step process on it, so that you, and with screenshots, so that you can follow along or use it later on to search things as well. So first things first, we would navigate to our Museum of Danish America webpage. Can everybody see that? Nod for me. Yeah, great, wonderful. So, all right, let me see here. So then we would visit, or we would click on Explore and navigate to the Danish American Digital Library. This will bring you to what we call a splash page. It is basically titling the museum, or titling the digital library, and gets us in to view all of the collections that we have available. So I then clicked on Browse, and here you see all of the newspaper collections that we have available online. We have 6 different collections: the BN newspaper, the Danish Sisterhood News, Danavirke, Danskeren, Den Danske Pioneer, and the Laurits Melchior scrapbooks. Once the digitized ledgers are also available, they will be placed on this site as well. But you're here to see the Danish Sisterhood News, and that's what I'm going to show you. So if you click on anything that has a line underneath it, it is a link. So it will take you to the next page. I clicked on the Danish Sisterhood News, and you can then search. You can either browse the entire collection, which, as you see, there are 754 issues. I'm going to have to check with Sam because Addison has a different number than we have here, so we might be missing some, but I'm going to check on that. And so you can search by year published, or month published, or both. So over here, you can see also how many issues we have from each year, and click on more if you'd like to view more. But I'm going to go to 1954 and then select July. And there we have it. I'm clicking on the issue of the Danish Sisterhood News from July of 1954, and I can search through and look at each of the pages here, and you can obviously scroll to look at each image as well. Now, I would love to point out to everybody that your access and what you can do on here is not going to damage or affect anything. So by all means, play with this toolbar that we have here at the top. You can search within an issue by clicking on the magnifying glass. And let's see, is anybody speaking about someone with the last name Jensen in this issue? Sure enough, they are. As you can see there, it'll highlight anywhere in the issue that the name Jensen appears. You can use that to search for anything. A phone name, you could use it to search for a place or a lodge or an event or Christmas, something like that. I wholeheartedly recommend that anybody goes on here and just plays with the different options. The only thing that'll happen is if you get to a place where you can't figure out what to do, you just hit the back arrow on your browser and it brings you back. So easy peasy, you're not going to ruin anything. I'm going to go back because another thing that you can do is a simple search. Now, as you see here, there is a search field, and you can search by content, title, genre, publisher, all of those things that are in that dropdown. But I'm going to search by content. Now, I can search across all of the newspapers and newsletters in our collection. So I'm going to search Christine Hemmingson. And there are 27 items that come up. As you can see, she has been mentioned in BN also, and in Den Danske Pioneer. I was trying to read the Gothic script instead of the actual regular script down at the bottom. But so you can look for all of these and see where her name is mentioned. For those of you who don't know, I think probably everybody on here does know, but Christine Hemmingson is the founder of the Danish Sisterhood. So there's her name, an article about her in this issue. I'm going to hit the back arrow again to get us back to our search results and just show you what it looks like if you were to say, I only want to see what's in the Danish Sisterhood news. So you deselect all, select only Danish Sisterhood news, and you can search something like elk horn. Haha, there's a lot about Elkhorn in the Danish Sisterhood news. 105 results. So this is just a brief viewing of what you can look at. As Addison said, all of these have been scanned and processed with optical character recognition software so that you can search through this. Now, unfortunately, with the ledgers, this won't be quite as possible. I'm not actually sure what it's going to look like or whether we will even try doing OCR on it, because everything is written in script for the most part, and some of it is also written in Danish. So it really probably won't be able to be searched that way, but in the same way that you can search these issues by year and month, I plan to have things listed by lodge and by year. So you should still be able to look up your lodge, and I'll talk to Sam about some other factors, because maybe you want to look at things by state or something like that. So this is a description of how you look up and look through the collection on our Danish American Digital Library. And I think that wraps things up for us. Thanks again, Addison. We will stay on here to answer any questions that you might have.
Anyone is welcome to unmute and ask a question or type it in the chat. Addison did put the direct website link in the chat for that online digital library. So you're welcome to pick it up there, or as Cheyenne demonstrated, it's a link from our website, danishmuseum.org.
And I've also sent that that guide out to Marcia that perhaps she can forward on to the lodge president so that it can be shared with members as well.
Yeah,
I can do that. But oh my gosh, I am so jazzed. This is amazing. I mean, all the things we talked about, and to see it on screen and to know you've come so far. This is so cool. I'm so excited. Thank you to both of you for all the work that you've done on this. And Toba, thank you for your support. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited.
Thank you, Marcia. You've also been very instrumental in this. So, and thank you everybody for joining us. Seriously, any questions from anybody? Okay, well, when you think of those burning questions, you can always email me.
So you're going to keep both the physical copies that you've been digitizing and keep them all safe. So that's great.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. A common misconception, or some people who don't really understand archiving practices think that once you've digitized it, you can throw away the originals. We don't do that. So.
No.
But one of the things about the site that we do store all of this on is, and one of the reasons that we pay for this service through NMT, I don't know what his actual company name is, but one of the reasons that we use Sam and go through Sam is that he also keeps 3 backups of our content. So on site here at the museum, we will have a copy of the digital content, and then Sam also keeps 3 copies in his cloud and server. So it is well protected.
Well, and if I could just mention one last thing, from the last report, we're only $5,500 short in our archival fundraising campaign. So once we get the money and once you guys are done, boom, we're live.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I think that's great news. We've done this so fast. We've made a lot of great progress, and I know we're going to get across the finish line.
Yeah. And not only for this particular digitization project, but for the entire support of, making the Danish Sisterhood archive collection, the sisterhood nationally through lodges, through individuals, you all have really made this possible to kind of make the commitment and support the work that it takes to really ensure long-term preservation and access to this collection. It is your history. It is our history, but it's been so impressive to see how the sisterhood has been really proactive in recognizing the importance of doing this work and recognizing the resources that it takes to do this work. So thank you. Thank all of you that are listening today. Thank you for those who have supported both the first phase of this project and now this current phase to make these really critical resources available to a broad public audience. I mean, we anticipate that a lot of sisterhood members will be doing a lot of the searches online and looking for family names, looking for their lodges. But there are no restrictions on who has access. And so, imagine someone in a few years writing their master's thesis on women's organizations in immigrant communities, and they find this sisterhood archive, and what a wealth of information. So all of that, really, makes us excited to be, the stewards of this project. We are always
Just really,
Yep. Go for it, Cheyenne.
sorry, Tova, just really briefly, I was a little thrown off when I first clicked on the site, the Danish American Digital Library, because I had updated it and it was not showing the updated version. So I just want everybody to know also that we have recognized all of the hard work that the sisterhood has done as well. As I was reading the title, I was thinking, wait, that's not the title of it now. It's the Danish American Digital Library. And as you can see, we wanted to include the sisterhood logo in supporting this project, this very important project. So
Very cool.
There any other comments or questions this evening? All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. We do look forward to sharing this presentation online in just a few days. So please do encourage your fellow lodge sisters and other friends to take a look, whenever they're curious to learn more about this project. And I know that some lodges are going to be watching this as a group, which is great. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us at the museum if you do have questions, or especially if you want to further support this project. We're always happy to work with the sisterhood and see this project through to its final completion. So I will say thank you for joining us, and good night, and have a wonderful evening, everybody.